Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises and glory and honor that's due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone and rule well. Peace and blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect. Those in the gospel, bro, lifting up the standard of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, wherever it may be. This is another lesson through the Spirit. It says World War III alert. Russia warns that Israel is ready to launch new attacks on Iran. As you know, this war between Israel and Iran, going back to the whole October 7 ordeal back in 2023. This has been a war that's been transpiring. 2023, damn near 2 years. Okay, it's been damn near 2 years since the war of the Palestinians and Israel, or the state of Israel, as we call them. All right, because we know that they're not the authentic people of the land, and instead they are implanted there, and that narrative has been brought out several times. But the war in the Middle East is escalating because now you have Russia that's on high alert. All right, and they're not playing with the U.S. anymore. Okay, they've been into several talks and negotiations with Iran about the halting of the nuclear weapons program, and you know, Iran is like, well, fuck you. Why would we need to disable our nuclear program when you have nuclear weapons and you're just going to use that to destabilize us? And they understand that it's resources in their land to the point they don't want the West to get control of. So they're not going to give up their nuclear programs. And even if they don't have the ability, or they have the ability to create a weapon, but if they don't have a nuclear weapon per se, that's okay, because they're going to get backing from their allies, okay, which you got Russia and China, okay, you got the BRICS nation that's getting ready to offset the dollar, you know, and you got a lot of these people that's pretty much riding with Palestine now because these small hats are being chased out of the earth, okay. They're not wanted in Italy, they're not wanted in Greece, you know, Ireland. They're getting kicked out. People are refusing to serve them because they're realizing that you ain't nothing but the devil, and this war is going to be the war to end all wars, man. So Russia, it says Russia warns that Israel is ready to launch attacks on Iran. So that's putting Russia on high alert because they understand eventually America was going to get involved with the war because they have to back Israel. As this is BB's fourth visit to the White House. Why is that? Because he's trying to sell this war, and he understands long term he's headed for arrest, man, because he's guilty for war crimes. Okay, so with that being said, I'm gonna play a couple of minutes of this video. Gonna get a couple of precepts, and that'll be that. But yeah, the third woe is pretty much beneath it. I mean, it's pretty much on the horizon, and in my humble opinion, we've been in the third woe since the beginning of the Cold War, which this is getting ready to be a hot war. All right, like the scriptures say, behold, the third woe coming quickly. Hey, right after World War II, then, you know, years down the line, then you had the Cold War, you know, and we're still in a Cold War because these same nations that's been in play during the time of World War II, hey, these are the same nations for the most part that's in tandem with this Third World War. All right, so with that being said, let me play a couple of minutes of this video and we'll get a couple of precepts. I'm actually on the road, so it works out perfectly. So here we go.
Well, is the second phase of the war with Iran coming? Russia just released a pretty stunning statement. According to Russia's Ministry of Defense, new strikes against Iran are being planned and they are coming. Insiders in DC are telling Redacted that this is the case, that this is actively being discussed and ready to move into an action phase now. And just like that, Bibi arrived at the White House for his fourth visit in 8 months. Bibi, the name Bibi makes him sound like just a friendly little fella, huh? Mm-hmm. So he arrives in Washington, D.C. His fourth visit in 8 months. As Steve Bannon pointed out, normally there'd be like a whole color guard welcoming, you know, him. No, there was none of that this time.
Yeah, because he's trying to sell this war. He's trying to convince the U.S., look, they need to get involved in this war, all right? Because for one thing, you know, you got Palantir, you got these programs, or these AI programs, which is all being put up around America and different parts of the world. Everything is set forth to go. Okay, so this thing is getting ready to kick off any day because remember the MOTB. Okay, that has to be implemented first before this war can really be turned hot and become nuclear. But even then, the UK mentioned it. They said, well, look, you know, in order for people to work in the UK, you're gonna have to get that that digital ID, man, and that could be in the form of their version of the RFID chip, which is the NFC chip, which is near field communication, man. All right, but when they're talking like that, just know that we're damn near out of here, because we understand that things are not going to go completely hot until the implementation of this chip. And what are the chances that Esau is getting ready to throw these banking systems offline and conjure up this new system? So once the economic collapse come, the world, I mean, you know, you have the global economies that's going to collapse, because the dollar, with their offsetting the debt on the entire world, that's going to cause the nations to say, you know what, we finna go to war, man. Okay, and they're gonna go to war behind this dollar, whether they believe it or not. Okay, you just have all these situations in the Middle East with Israel, Iran, okay, Gaza, or the Palestinians, you know, India, and you got Turkey, which Turkey is damn near cutting America off. They're like, fuck y'all. But even regardless of that, you have all these small pockets of tension in the Middle East that just gonna add insult to injury. And the fact that most nations don't agree with America continuing to be in a world power, it's nothing for them to turn it back on Babylon once the US dollar is fully collapsed, man. You know? So here we go.
That's the first time Steve Bannon said he's ever seen that. There was really no welcome dog and pony show for him. And the last time this happened, it happened just days later. Israel and the United States launched part 1 of the war against Iran. So part 2 is coming. Also overnight, a wave of U.S. air tankers have been deployed to Europe. Again, the last time that this happened was right before the attacks on Iran. 8 U.S. Air Force tankers are on their way to Europe. Again, the last time that this happened was right before the attacks. Again, this could be for exercise purposes, as Zero Hedge points out. Also, today, Bibi, Trump meeting discussing the end of the Gaza war. So what's going on here? Sort of a peace plan.
And that's not going to necessarily happen, because the scriptures say peace and safety and sudden destruction. Now, remember when Trump, before he actually got the official inauguration, before he got inaugurated, he was talking about stopping the war with Russia and Ukraine within 24 hours. And what come of it? Nothing. Okay, nothing came of it. Because he even mentioned, he said that's World War III. But he didn't stop it. But instead, you know, he added insult to injury, man. Okay, because to the point now, him and that guy, Zelensky, they was at odds for some time, man. You know? And Russia, man, it's to the point that Russia, they like, you know what? I don't know what the fuck they're doing, man. I mean, honestly speaking. But the fact that they declared war on Iran months ago, I mean, you would think that the Russians will have more of a say-so and more on alert. And I've assumed that they are. But even then, it's like, what are you doing? You know, this is the time to rise up. But, you know, according to Yahweh Shai's plan, this will happen. Lord's will, with the... I lost my train of thought. But Lord's will, you know, this goes farther, because, you know, we used to situations intensifying, and then all of a sudden they just kind of take a back door, and then you don't hear about it anymore. But it's safe to say that if they continue to go at Iran, it's safe to say that Russia and their allies, China, North Korea, they will all start to take a stand, because right now we're seeing the choosing of sides according to Ezekiel 38. So
releases a map and details of Trump's Gaza peace plan. Israel will not occupy or annex the Gaza Strip. Gaza will become a terror-free zone, whatever that means, and will be, quote, redeveloped for the benefit of the people of Gaza, end quote, whatever that means. The deal also includes a prisoner swap. Joining us to discuss all of these latest developments is the editor of one of our favorite websites, antiwar.com, is Dave DeCamp. And Dave, welcome back to the show. Great to see you. I also love that you guys were able to get that URL however many years ago. The fact that that URL wasn't already swept up by somebody is pretty telling, that no one wants to talk about being anti-war and pro-peace. It's amazing that you're like, hey, let's look and see if this URL is available. Oh, it is, because people love war.
Yeah, it is pretty great, because it's so easy to remember, antiwar.com. I have to give credit to my boss, Eric Garris, who founded the site. They started it in 1995, so it's been around a long time.
It's crazy to think that no one grabbed that, because people are definitely pro-war. So give me your sense of, first of all, just the Russian report that And the reports that we're hearing at Redacted, I'm sure you're hearing the same thing, that they are preparing for active strikes against Iran. Call it part 2 of the Iran war. We knew that this was coming. You guys, we talked last time that this was an inevitability. Are you surprised by Russia's statement on this?
No, I'm not. I mean, and this is what Iran has been saying as well, the president and the military. I mean, basically since the ceasefire, the Iranian military has been saying that they're getting prepared for round 2. And as we discussed last time, if there was no real change when it comes to the situation with Iran, that it was inevitably going to happen again. And a big thing that just happened over the weekend was the snapback sanctions. And these are UN Security Council sanctions that were lifted on Iran.
Yeah, and the UN, they about had it, man. They're like, look, it's to the point, I believe certain countries of the UN, they halted with sending weapons to Israel, because you got to understand, Israel is funded by America, of course, but they're funded by the United Nations as well, Britain as well, which Britain is, I think Great Britain is part of NATO, if I'm not mistaken. I think the NATO nations, or the UN, I'm not sure. I keep forgetting it, but I know part of NATO, you got United States, Canada, I know you got Turkey. I'm trying to think if Britain is in it. I can look it up real quick, but regardless of it, the EU, NATO and the EU, which is the beast and the 10 horns, they're breaking up. Eventually they're going to break up, because they don't really come to a common agreement as far as the policies that's being pushed to the embetterment state of Israel. So they like, look, we're funding weapons to Israel, and we're going to halt it for some time being, because this is going to basically escalate and put tensions on Europe too, which Europe is in a dire strait of collapsing right now. So it's not looking too good for Esau all around. All right. But anyway, let's go here to the book of Jeremiah 49, and I'm going to start at verses 7. And it says, concerning Edom, thus says the Lord of hosts, is wisdom no more in Teman? Because Teman are those wise men in Edom, the Germans. It says, his counsel perished from the prudent, and his wisdom vanished. Because if you look at the moves they're making, it's not being done with wisdom or careful thought. It's sloppy. People know that you're funding Al-Qaeda-backed groups. People know that you're setting up the left and right paradigms to destabilize certain nations and take resources. Everybody's already aware of the wickedness that Esau was doing when it comes to these small hats, man. Okay, everybody knows that the whole October 7th ordeal was the becking calling of Israel. People are waking up to it, and the fact that they still labeling people anti-S for coming up against them it's like ludicrous, man. But it says, flee ye and turn back and dwell deep, O inhabitants of Dedan, for I will bring the calamity of Esau upon him in the time that I will visit him. And we're seeing the Most High getting ready to visit you small hats, man, you devils. He's getting ready to visit the whole house of Esau, all right? But it's going to start with you Amalekites first, man. Because like I mentioned, you're being chased out of the earth. And the curses that's going to go upon the heathen is going to hit Amalek first, man, because they're the head tribe of Esau. Just like with Judah. Judah got the brunt of the curses, because Judah is the head tribe. But Esau, you cook, man. All right, the world is literally turning their back on you because they know that you ain't nothing but the damn devil. But it says, if gate gatherers came to thee, where they have not leased some gleaning grapes, and if thieves by night, they were destroyed till they had enough. Right, because they do nothing but steal. Steal and destabilize and cause mass genocide. It says, but I've made Esau bare. I've uncovered his secret places, and he should not be able to hide himself. His seed is spoiled, and his brethren, and his neighbors, and he is not. And the Lord is exposing Esau now. This is why BB, man, he's calling for all types of arms and beckon call to come and assist him in his war, because nobody is coming to the help of the small hat, man. Hell, even Turkey is throwing shade at him, But it says here, leave thy fatherless children, and I'll preserve them alive, and let the widows trust in me. But for thus says the Lord, behold, they whose judgment was not to drink of the cup have surely drunken, and that's Israel. And thou shalt altogether go unpunished, but thou should not go unpunished, but thou should surely drink of it. And it's talking about Esau, okay? And the cup is talking about destruction and judgment and slavery, because once your kingdom is done, the remnant of you that survived World War III or the War of Armageddon, you'll be grabbed up and put in captivity, all right? And you'll have to bring back your other companions that perished on this side, because your whole entire nation is going to be slaves, man. Okay, that's going to be your version of hell. And it says, for I've sworn by myself, says Yahweh, that Basra should become a desolation, a reproach, a waste, and a curse, and all the cities should be perpetual wastes, right? So your cities in America, okay, your cities in Britain, your cities in Greece, France, you know, all those European, so-called European countries and nations and cities, they're all going to be casted down, because there's going to be riots, going to be civil war. You're going to have some missiles that's going to hit certain parts of Europe. But predominantly here in the West, every city in America will be destroyed by ICBM nuclear missiles. Okay, all of Europe won't be destroyed. Okay, because I mean, you know, there's going to be a strong haven, and we're going to have slaves, and we're going to build back the cities. Well, they're going to build them back. But as far as your Edomite-led cities, that shit is going to be destroyed. Okay, those things are going to be cast down head first, because the Lord said He made Esau bare. You know, that's why it says there should be perpetual waste. Like if you watch that movie or that show called The Last of Us, those cities were perpetual waste, rubble. All right. But it says here, I've heard a rumor from Yahweh. It says that an ambassador is sent unto the heathen, saying, gather ye together and come against her, rise up against her in battle. Okay. And that's why you see the nations form alliances now, because they're getting ready to go up in arms against Babylon the Great. And they're going to do away with you small hats, man. Because the only people that's going to come to the defense of the small hats is pretty much America. All right. Because everybody else is pretty much washing their hands of Amalek. All right. Because they understand that because of Amalek's dealings and his greed and his thievery and his murder, the world is in shambles now because of it. And it says, gather ye together and come against her and rise up to the battle. And it says, for lo, I will make thee small among the heathen and despise among men. This is why everybody's kicking your ass out. All right. This is why everybody is saying boycott Israel, you know, because they understand now that you've been the problem the entire goddamn time. All right. It ain't Negroes. It ain't migrants. All right. It ain't the Arabs. It ain't the Iranians. It's you. OK, you've been the primary. What can I say? You've been the culprit, or you've been the offense behind all the wrong that's been done on the planet Earth, man. You know, and you know that, but yet you still want to play victim. Okay, Esau likes to throw a rock and hide his hand, you know. And that's just the result of this devil. But anyway, it says, for lo, I will make thee small among the heathen and despise among men. And it says here, thy terribleness have deceived thee, and the pride of thy heart, O thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock, that holdest the height of the hill. Though thou shouldest make thy nest as high as the eagle, I will bring thee down from thence, says the Lord, because your pride is being cut down. You know, He's cutting your pride down, because you're basically being despised. All right. So let me play a couple more minutes of this video, and I'll get a couple of precepts, and that'll be that. I actually just pulled up to my location, but we're gonna make it do what it do. So let's go back.
In 2015, when they signed the Iran nuclear deal, that the UK, France, and Germany triggered these sanctions to be reimposed. Essentially, they did this because they were set to expire in October. But you know, they did this essentially on behalf of the US. And this is a sign that the Trump administration is not really interested in a deal in diplomacy with Iran, because they just put a whole nother big obstacle in the way of any deal, these UN Security Council sanctions. And Russia, you know, why I wasn't surprised to see this Russian statement about the potential attack on Iran. Russia came out very strongly against these snapback sanctions. And Russia and China tried to stop them at the UN Security Council, but that vote failed. And they basically said that, you know, they don't recognize these sanctions, that these sanctions are illegal. So it goes to show Russia's probably not going to follow them, because it does include an arms embargo on Iran, which, if that's something that Russia implemented, would kind of be a big deal when it comes to Russia-Iran relations. But it doesn't look like they're going to go with that. So yeah, all signs pointing to a war. And a big thing here is Netanyahu at the White House now. So two big things happened today. I'm sure you guys saw that Bibi apparently called up the Prime Minister of Qatar and said he was sorry for bombing them. The White House put out a statement on this.
Right, and we know that's bullshit. Anyway, it reads here. It says here, Thy terribleness have deceived thee in the pride of thy heart, O thou that dwellest in the cleft of the rock, that holdest the height of the hill. Though thou shouldest make thy nest as high as the eagle, I will bring thee down, since says the Lord. Also Edom should be a desolation, and every one that goeth by it should be astonished, and shall hiss at all the plagues thereof. And as in the overthrow of Sodom and Gomorrah, and its neighboring cities thereof, says Yahweh, no man shall abide there, neither should the Son of Man dwell in it. And that's talking about here in America, because we know that America is going to be totally destroyed. It says, but behold, he should come up as a lion from the swelling of Jordan against the habitations of the strong. But I will suddenly make him run away from her. And who is a chosen man that I may point over her? And Yahweh Shai is going to come back and bring judgment to you devils. It says, who is like me, and who will appoint me the time, and who is the shepherd that will stand before me? And Yahweh Yahweh Shai. But it says, therefore hear the counsel of the Lord, that he have taken against Edom, and his purpose is that he have purpose against the inhabitants of Teman. Surely the least of the flock should draw them out. Surely he should make their habitations desolate with them. And the earth is moved at the noise of their fall, and the cry of the noise was heard in the Red Sea, because the war is going to take place in the Middle Eastern region. All right. So anyway, I'm going to play a little bit more of this and a couple of precepts. And like I said, we're ended. I'm actually at my location, so I got to burn out, unfortunately. But yeah, man, prophecy is speaking.
Trump and Netanyahu come out with this big press conference. The White House releases this vision for a Gaza ceasefire plan. It's kind of a whole nother topic to get into. But the point I want to make when it comes to Iran is that Netanyahu is a very transactional person. You know, if he's coming to the White House to call up Qatar and say that he's sorry, to publicly agree to this Gaza ceasefire proposal, he's going to want things in return. And I think one of those things could be a commitment for another war with Iran.
Jeez.
With Qatar, so you think Qatar would support this somehow? I mean, we see
Deceit. Revelation 17, and I'm going to start at verses 12. It says, and the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings. Okay, that's the EU, which is actually 28 nations. It's the EU. But it says here, which have received no kingdom as of yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. And these have one mind, and should give their power and strength to the beast, which NATO is the beast. And it says, and these shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them. For he is the Lord of lords and King of kings, and they that are with him are called chosen and faithful. And he said unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the horse sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, because there's going to be a division, okay? And shall make her desolate, and burn her flesh with fire. For the Most High put in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree, and to give their kingdom unto the beast, and to the words of the Most High should be fulfilled. And the woman which thou sawest is a great city, which reigneth over the kings of the earth. Okay? And that's talking about America. So with that, all praises and glory and honor that's due to Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. Lord's will, you will edify. To the next lesson. Shalom.